All right, I'm Brian Bender, the president of Electric Vehicle Learning Center. I'm here with Stephen Federico, one of our attendees of the class. And thank you so much, Stephen. I appreciate you coming and agreeing to spend some time sharing your experience with the class.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you
Uh,
from? Where do you live? What do you do?
I don't want to go on too long. So basically, I was born in New Jersey.
Okay.
I when I just for some reason I always knew I was going to end up in California. I just felt that magnetic pull, whatever it is that brings many of us out here. Came out on my motorcycle when I was 19, left New Jersey, February, crazy wild trip, and ended up in Santa Cruz for a while. I had dropped out of college. My parents were terrified I'd never finish, but went back, got my degree. One of my biggest backgrounds was bicycles. I raced bicycles. I come from a town, Somerville, New Jersey, has the oldest continually happening bicycle race in the United States. So I grew up around that, always wanted to do it, got into it a lot, enjoyed just the community and all of that. And the industry is something I fell back on several times in between careers and all, and so it's something that's always kind of been there. I've really enjoyed, but I ended up graduating from San Francisco State. I originally was going to go into the film industry. I worked a little bit, but it was going to come down to going down to LA. I'm more of a Northern California kind of guy, I guess. The Southern California scene, especially being a bicycle guy, I'm used to commuting on my bike. So didn't really want to go into that realm. So I ended up leaving that. Rode the wild ride of the late '90s tech boom in what was originally China Basin in San Francisco, what it was called, and then became the tech hub there in the city, Media Gulch or whatever they've referred to it as. So kind of did that whole boom and bust. And then went into teaching, decided I wanted to be a teacher. My mother had been trying to get me, she was a retired teacher, trying to get me into it forever. So at 40, I got my teaching credential, started a new career. And so that was almost 20 years ago. And I'm just about to wrap up that stage of my life of teaching U.S. history, economics, social science. I guess that's a not so short version.
That's great. No, that sounds like an adventure. And so where along that journey did you end up in the EV world? Like what grabbed your
Well,
attention, sparked your interest?
it's kind of funny because I've always been interested, always been a tinkerer, and I think that's part of the bicycle world is there's so many different possibilities. I mean, I could use the Wright brothers as an example. They were bicycle people, and so you're always kind of mashing things together, see how they work and what the limits are. Um, and so the crazy thing is about 10 years ago, uh, late 40s, and I was back east visiting my family, and my brother took me and went with a friend of his and his brother to go-kart racing in this indoor go-kart track. And it turned out that the go-karts were electric. And just, I think, as many EV people, come to see, as soon as you step on that throttle and feel that instantaneous electric torque, that was it. I just, we did the one track day there. I had an absolute blast, and I was just sold on that electric acceleration. I mean, that was the thing. And so from that moment, I just became obsessed with doing a conversion. There really weren't many options. I think, Tesla had the Roadster at that point. And then there were some other things, econo boxes and hybrids and stuff like the Prius. But I had always been in love with the Porsche 914 as a kid. My neighbor, uh, his older brother had a 914 6, and so I thought that would be my ultimate dream. And I just started saving money and figuring I'd probably only be able to afford maybe a beat up old MG or something to try and do a conversion on. But I kind of had a 914 fall into my lap, as it would be a guy who had converted in the 90s, and it's been a wild ride since.
Well, so not only did you find a 914, but you found one that's already been converted.
Yeah, this was the electric automotive people that were out, in the Santa Cruz Mountains or wherever they were doing selling these kits. They would do one for a Volkswagen Golf, I think, or a Rabbit. They had one for the 914, and a couple other cars that they did. And so it was a very, very major alteration, major kit. But basically, it was just a 914 for sale for $1,000 on Craigslist that popped up, and I had been combing Craigslist all the time, and I knew, nothing in that range. I mean, it had the original Fuchs wheels, so those alone were worth $1,000,
Sure.
no less the car. But I saw in the ad, I must have seen it maybe less than 20 minutes after it had posted. He was only asking $1,000, and I saw that it said it had no gas tank. And I was thinking to myself, why would anyone take the gas tank out unless they were going to convert it to electric? And so I just gave a shot in the dark. I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to win this guy over and get to the front of the queue and say that, I don't need a gas tank because I want to convert it to electric. And sure enough, within a few minutes, he got back to me and he said, oh, this was actually electric conversion. And so, um, basically he was like, look, if you want it, drive out here with the trailer and come get it. And the moment I set eyes on it, I was just, here, take my money. It actually had the motor controller. You never even mentioned it, the Zilla controller, the old DC kind of that was at the apex then. Um, and it had been what he called a lead sled. It was all, lead acid batteries, 6 volt
Heavy.
battery. So and they were all gone. Fortunately, I'd have to deal with getting rid of them. But it had all the metal works and the conversion and everything. He had blown the old controller, and then he had a couple kids, and it just sat in the driveway under a tarp, just kind of sitting there. So he threw in for another 1,000. He threw in the advanced DC motor, and he threw in the transmission that had been rebuilt, the stock 901 transmission for the 914, and so I loaded it all up, and for 2 grand, I had my start for sure. So it
What a
was,
score.
yeah,
That is your dream car.
it was unbelievable.
Engine out, ready to go. That's it right
Yeah,
behind you, right?
yeah, it's right here. I don't know if you can. Yeah, here's the back of it. It's got the.
That is
He bought it
awesome.
from a guy who had raced it, who put the flares on it. I wish it was more stock, but you can't complain when you're getting
Yeah.
that kind
Yeah,
of deal.
exactly. So, okay, so you bought the car, it's already converted, things are looking good. At what point did you find out about the EVLC, the electric car conversion class?
Well, I just started getting on forums, and I was, just combing because I didn't know anyone personally that was doing anything like this. I knew there were people out there, and I got on the electric car forums, and I, also got on some of the 914 forums, but I'd get a lot of hate replies, which is so funny because the 914 has always been the bastard child of Porsche, and
Right.
everybody, revels in how they modify theirs. People put V8s in them and everything under the sun. But oh my God, you put an electric motor in there, it's like that's not a Porsche.
Yeah,
You've destroyed it. It's like, oh my God. So you kind of had to avoid the haters in there.
the
Um,
purist. Yeah.
but basically, I think I discovered EV West right when they opened,
Okay.
and I was like, man, I hope these guys make it because they are doing everything I want to do. They're doing it right, and so I just started buying stuff from them, and through that, I heard about EVLC. I think after the first class had happened, and I was like, oh man, that's what I want. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye out, follow EVLC, and get in on this class because I had already purchased right before COVID. I purchased the AC motor conversion because that's when basically I destroyed everything. The first time I did it, I got some junkyard Chevy Volt batteries. I got 2 of them and split them up and did all these parallel strings. I had no idea.
Uh,
But the DC stuff was so easy, and some of the
yeah.
wiring was already there. Um, but then finally, I pretty much fried my batteries, and I didn't have a good BMS system, and um, over amped the motor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it right now. So I knew, things are changing so quickly, and there's so much new stuff coming all the time. But I made a risk when I saw the Hyper 9 come out. When they had the 120 volt, I was like, okay, I'm going to hold out for the 144. And so in 2019, I bought that kit, hoping that it was going to stay relevant. And fortunately, it really, really has. It's been, one of
Sure.
the big standards, but it's still sitting in a box. I mean, I connected it to the transmission, and it's just been sitting here, and I'm a little overwhelmed by the AC stuff. So the class was absolutely critical, because this time I really, really want to do it right, and turn this into basically my daily driver. That's my goal.
So you signed up for the class. So you got the motor mounted to the transmission, you got that far, and then you took the class?
Yeah, basically I stared at the wire loom, the 35 wire loom several times, and would come in the garage and do a few things and then close the garage door and be like, oh my God, I'm just. And so I mean, the DC stuff, it's kind of like just having a little remote control car. I mean, it's just everything's bigger, but it's really simple. But the AC
Sure.
stuff, I want regenerative braking, and
Sure.
this time I wanted to have heat and some other, niceties in the car.
Sure.
So, and then I was dealing with, a 40-some-year-old car with some of its stock wiring, the wiring that the guy who converted to electric did, the wiring I did from his stuff. And so, the more I started to work on it, the more I started going backwards. Like, I just got to strip this thing down. So the class was absolutely key for me to really realize, okay, I need to do this right. And that was the wonderful thing about the class, is it, right from the start, Michael said, it's like, first and foremost is safety, understanding your battery boxes, how to do things right. And that was so critical because, the first time I was winging it, and I was willing, to be on a limb. But now, especially since I'm a teacher and I get a lot of attention with my project, a lot of the kids really are interested in it. I want to make sure I'm doing it right. I don't want them doing any dangerous things, or because there's a lot of potential there. That's for sure.
Sure. Absolutely. What was your biggest takeaway from the class, would you say?
My God. I mean, for me, it was like being in paradise. Like, I didn't want to leave. I mean, and the nicest thing was we went late every single day. So that was like my dream. When I worked in the film industry, I hated production. I just absolutely, I was an editor. I was all about being in a dark room and putting the pieces together. But with the electric car stuff, every aspect of it, I just loved. And I think the practicality of everything, of the fact that don't try to do this because you can't do it, but you can do this and this and this, and this is how to do it right. This is how to actually be realistic about your goals. Throw out the pie in the sky goals, and then unless it was just the practicality of absolutely everything. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. And the Bible basically that they gave us, the binder, is so great. And I met a fellow student who's down in San Jose, and she wants to start her own electric car conversion business. So she's all excited about coming up here. So that networking is phenomenal. I mean, but I can't even put one thing on it. It was just, I just kept, pinching myself, like, they would be kicking me out. And, most people were pretty burnt and fried because we would go, every single day we went past, our original stop time.
Everyone's so into it. That's the cool part about it, is like everyone,
Yes.
it's passionate about it.
Yeah.
It's not a job for anyone. It's just passion.
That, and also just, the thing about Michael and EV West too was, it was pretty obvious in my emails, to him that I didn't know what the hell I was doing at times. And he was always so patient. And being able to finally meet him and just see how excited he is about it. And he doesn't get caught up, in the bicycle industry. When I worked at a bike shop, our motto was expert service, no attitude, right? And so in the bicycle world, especially in the road bike world where I raced, road racing and track racing, you get a lot of attitude, and it, it carries over to other different areas. And so I just really appreciate the fact that they're just so psyched for you that you're into it and fired up about it. and it's just such a great environment. I mean, man, I like I said, I had my Airbnb that was really, really nice. It had a beautiful view on a hillside because I wanted to be able to relax afterwards. But I never saw one sunset because the sun was long out before I got there. I was like, all right, forget it. I pretty
You were
much
just
got back
shocked the whole
there
time.
and just
So cool.
collapsed because, man, just so much to take in, so much.
That's amazing. Did you, and maybe you knew this, but did you know that everyone there, they're all volunteers and that
Yeah.
100% of the proceeds go to the youth program?
Yeah, I did. I was kind of wondering about how it all worked, um, and then that all, was pretty much made clear, that everyone and the fact that people would hang out, and be doing stuff and like, hey, you want to check this out? You want to check that out? I was like, yes, I want to see it all. So, it's just so nice to see, those people out there because around here I haven't really been able to find any community around that. I mean, one guy drove by in a 914 and saw my car, and I was out on my motorcycle and actually run out of gas, and he knocked on the door and talked to my wife and like tracked me down where I was out of gas and gave me his card, because he was a big 914 guy, and
Yeah.
that's I've had people drive by and knock on the door and ask me about it or want to buy it, but the electric conversion, when I went to one of the electric car shows here, that the EV groups, but it's all people who have bought pre-made cars, and I was actually the only car that was there. There must have been almost 100 people there with their Teslas and everything else, and it was cool. It was really, really cool. But where are the people that are converting those classic cars? I'm really hoping to see more of that.
Your tribe, the EV tribe, right? The
Yeah, it's like
conversion tribe.
I missed that first wave, like the guy that I bought the car from, for him, I mean, at that point in time, lithium ion would have been, he would have had to pay like $40,000 for a set of batteries. So he had to go with the lead acid. So, those people have all gotten older, and many of them, I mean, although some of them still come down to EVLC, obviously, some
Yeah.
of those, peeps are still involved in it, but I'm looking for that next wave of enthusiasm and energy, just to be around it, be a part of it, and just to enjoy it.
Well, you are it, Stephen. You are a part of the group. It's people like you that make it happen, that have the passion for it, and you're willing to travel from Northern California down to San Diego and take a shot, at the
Yeah,
class. It's a newer thing for us. This is year number 2.
yeah,
So the first year, I think we ran 6 classes, and it just kept getting better and better and better based on all the feedback we got, and we were able to just tweak it, make little tweaks here and there to maximize the time. And
yeah,
each class, the group of people, the diversity of the students, from where they live, what
yep,
projects they're working on,
yeah,
what their professional background is. It's like
yep,
nothing's the same, and that's the best
yeah.
part about it.
Yeah, it really is exciting, that part of it of people coming from all over, and then the fellow Jersey boy, Mr. G, made an
Yeah,
appearance, and it was fun, kind of to joke around with him a little bit, and
yeah, he's
um,
great.
so it's just I just love the fact that everyone is just so fired up about it. There really isn't that, well, this is the way you have to do it. And, that it really is. I mean, aside from the safety factor, which, is something
Sure.
that I'm definitely much more into embracing now. I think I was a little wild and crazy in the past with how I was doing everything. And now I really want to do it right.
Yeah,
And it's just so exciting. I just, it's just wild. I guess, having someone to talk to, my wife, because people will ask me all the time when, I say, oh, well, I've got this, electric car conversion at a party or something like that. And my wife has to come over and kind of nudge me like, hey, yeah, they're full now. You've said enough, because
yeah.
you get
They don't
going
get
on
it.
it. It's,
Yeah,
it's so
yeah.
exciting, all of it. And I
And
mean,
that's the cool part when you come down to EVLC and EV West, is it's everyone's into the same
yeah,
thing, and
yeah,
sharing ideas and sharing mistakes. Even more importantly, hey, I made this
uh,
mistake already, and
yeah.
that can save you time. Would you say that the things that you learned in the class have saved you like time and energy, and maybe going the wrong direction with your conversion?
Absolutely, absolutely, and also giving me closure on what I did wrong in the past. It's like, oh, okay, that's why that did that, you know. But we Michael did the thing where he, blew a fuse, different size fuses and all, and that's really important because that's the last thing in the world you want to do, not on purpose. But when it does happen, it's important to know, what it's going to be like, what it sounds like, what does that. So I think that there was so much in there of seeing, this is what happens when you blow a fuse, and just, I don't know, there was just so much covered. I mean, it was a lot to squeeze into a weekend, that's for sure, and for me, I mean, I'm much more of a mechanical guy, and so there were times where, when we start getting into the binary, and wow, that was a lot for sure.
Yeah, the coding and
Oh, yeah, yeah. Whereas we had some people in the class, like that's when they came alive, right? Because
yeah,
that was their thing. But for me, it was a lot. That was,
it's another language, literally, and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, that's the neat part is yeah, again, just coming back to the diversity of what, where are you at in your project, and the hardest part about it when when we're developing the curriculum is actually cutting stuff out. Like, hey, we only got 3 days, guys.
yeah,
Because when we first started, it was like, hey, let's put it all in, and then we had, well,
yeah,
yeah, but that's important. How do we take that out? And so it's been fun, kind of learning how to fit as much as you can and without doing too much in that class. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, well, the last question I have for you is would you recommend this class to
Oh my
someone that's
gosh.
working on a project?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's money well spent. It really was so much. I mean, on so many different levels, it was so important for me to really, really take a look back at, what I needed to do, because I pretty much, it's all in here, I've got everything I need except the knowledge, right? So taking a break to really step away and go somewhere where you really have a extended time to focus on what, how to do it right was just so critical. And I could not recommend the class enough to people who are going down that road, because you're going to spend some money. I mean, and it's changing so fast. It's like, oh well, I've got this, monitor for telemetry, but now there's this one, or I bought this BMS wiring, and now there's this wiring, and so it's worth it to be aware of, where you might want to cut a few corners and go less expensive with something, and where you want to really make sure that you know what you're investing in and how you're going to run it. But I mean, all of the different ways to approach it were just so helpful for sure.
So the tuition, you'll save at least that or more in decision making or wrong decision or
Absolutely. I mean, what
yeah,
what if you buy the wrong batteries? I mean, that's a
yeah,
huge, or at least you go into it knowing, okay, I'm rolling the dice here. I'm gonna get these used Tesla batteries from this sketchy junkyard around the back, and I don't know, what exactly is going on here. I'm happy these guys aren't chopping me up, making me into sausage or anything, but I understand, this is this price, and I'm taking the risk, and I know how to test them and make sure, they're at least going to work together, but I understand, or when like this is not a risk, I know that I'm getting something quality here, and I'm going to pay that extra money. So saving, losing a bunch of money going down a road, because for many people, they just don't understand, some people understand some parts of it. I was talking to one classmate about needing a manual transmission, and they didn't understand that at all. And it's like, oh yeah, no, that's you don't want to go down the road of the automatic transmission. I mean, that's something you want to look for. And so I could see, that person might have found their dream car that they wanted to convert and gotten an automatic transmission, and suddenly realized, oh my gosh, I
it's the
gotta
wrong
deal with
one.
this whole rigmarole now and change
Yeah.
the transmission, and now I gotta modify. And so I think that, yeah, I think it pays for itself in spades when it comes down to saving money on, what you're going to be doing with your project, what's realistic in your project.
Great. That's awesome. Well, that's what we're aiming for. And
Yeah.
and the best part about it, you get the knowledge. Our nonprofit gets funds to fund the youth program. So it's just the community grows. So it's just this circle of awesomeness that
Yeah.
it's just great. It's so wonderful to see, and all the people we get to meet. That's been the best part about it. And
Yeah.
people from all over doing all these cool things individually
Yeah.
now come together and get to know each other. So, well, Stephen, I appreciate your time. I don't want to take up any more time. I just wanted to check in with you and see how everything went, and thank you so much. And
Thank
I
you.
hope we see you again. And anyone else that's listening to this, if you want to learn more about our conversion classes, our website is www.ev-lc.org, or you could Google Electric Vehicle Learning Center.